Not with it opened up. No. It was all.
That's about as good as we're going to get.
Is that a sunbed in there?
You can kick it off if you want.
Okay. So it's gone 4 o'clock, so we'll make a start. Welcome everyone to the Reconvened Katikati-Waihi, which will form KWB 22 bar 2. So welcome everyone here. Myself, James Denny, as chair, deputy chair, and Henry, Councillor Alan Sol, and is Mayor Webber here?
No, he's not.
Okay, so and this is John Holyoke online as well. Okay.
He's not, no.
So I'll move an apology for the mayor. Seconded and Sol. In favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So we're just here to discuss the what we heard in the workshop at the previous incarnational meeting. So first of all, we have Pippa Coombs and the Waihi Beach skate park. There's been a few developments since we had that meeting about what TCC had announced. So, first of all, did either of you want to say anything about what she said? Kick off?
I've got to basically declare a bit more of an interest at this point for them.
So I like councillors to speak a bit louder just because I think this microphone's not quite as good as that one is.
So you've got an interest? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I suggested to Pippa that she actually go and speak to the commissioners at Town City and to explain to her what she has been doing and to see whether if anything comes out of that conversation, not to just leave it.
yeah, okay. Well, the resolutions I drafted were received a presentation and also that staff liaise with Tauranga City Council to investigate and understand TCC's recently proposed skate park, including whether it will adhere to Olympic standard, and the timing and funding of that construction, and how the proposed skate park fits with the Bay of Plenty Spaces and Places strategy. And I actually met with on the speed dating event. I talked about that with Sport Bay of Plenty a little bit.
So did I.
Yeah. Okay, so we had both barrels then. So, are you in agreement with that course of action?
Well, sure, but I don't know that necessarily precludes Waihi Beach from continuing along the same line.
But I think that they should be in conversation initially to see what each other, well, do Tauranga City know that Waihi Beach is doing what they're doing?
Yeah.
I think it's almost irrelevant because what Tauranga City has how many young people and people in that age group who want a better facility. Meanwhile, a large part of the purpose of it at Waihi Beach is to include the people that are into surfing and skateboarding and skating and scootering and so on, but it's also to create other events throughout the year. So it's to be used in a little bit different to just bang, here's a skate park. The idea is to develop as a destination for competition.
Yeah. Well, I think, as I said, I think we need to get staff to liaise with TCC and work out exactly what's happening, because at the moment we've only got high level information.
We don't know exactly what that.
Yeah.
There may be some complementary thing that Waihi Beach can do.
It could become a circuit for all I know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking, and it could spread the love across the.
But it's the impact on funding as well, I think.
Yeah, and then they need. Pippa needs to know where she is before she goes back to funders again.
So if you're conflicted, I'll move those two resolutions. You happy to second that?
Yeah.
All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The next item you heard was Battery Action Group. Presentation from Sue Allen. There's quite a lot of items there. So what I'll do, I'll just read out what I've got here, because I'm aware you guys haven't a chance to look at what I drafted. So firstly, we received the presentation from Sarah about Pathway Action Group. 2A, staff be requested to investigate and suggest solutions to drainage issues at Boatland and at Dr. Mills Park. Consider the potential to dredge the silted up creek inlet at the end of Dr. Mills Park. C, provide an update on the removal of the concrete jetties. D, and this is a bit of a belt and braces, considering what's already happened, but consider with urgency the potential to extend the footpath from the new subdivision on Athenry Road to the Montessori Preschool in order to utilise a favourable quote from Leicester Civil to extend the scope of work of their existing contract for adjacent path construction. Item 3, Y Beach Community Board be invited to A, consider the need for and potentially fund a large shelter instead of the previously requested barbecue cover. I'm not sure why they never got on with that.
Well, I don't understand why
I do.
why is that?
Historically, it was so bloody expensive. I think the barbecue cost something like 16,000.
Yeah, but we'll consider also.
And yes, sorry.
3B is consider the request for half basketball court at Dennis Street Reserve, either to fund themselves or by submitting to the next annual plan process. And C, note Athenry Action Group suggestions for the entranceway project.
For which?
The entranceway project.
Yes.
I made a few suggestions there.
I didn't go to that open day. Did they get recorded then?
No, they in Sue's presentation of the war form, there was a whole bunch of things they talked about that they'd like for the entranceway.
Oh, so okay.
So
we don't know what they are. 'Cause we haven't seen them. And I can't remember what she said.
Oh yeah, there was a whole pile.
No, I
and
don't need to know, but they should really.
That's largely what's
Well,
in there.
it's for the community board to consider.
Yeah, so that'll go to the community board.
Yeah, well, they would have got a copy of that.
So we missed quite a lot in the meeting that I've got on the recording, so I can pull that. She
Yeah.
talked about a statue and a couple other things.
Yeah.
She gave a printout. I got a printout somewhere,
Brilliant.
and I'm sure that Ross would have got a copy of that. But I can.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can't discuss them if we haven't got. There was a lot in there, and I assumed that we were going to get it written down somewhere so we could all vegetate on what was being
Yeah, I
asked
made
for.
a fair few notes, but yeah, it's basically covered there.
Yeah.
I think the key ones for sure, long term.
But will some of those drainage issues be covered when the cycleway goes through? Is that going to be passing through any of those areas?
Yeah.
So do we need to look at it?
The cycleway will come into part of that
Is
Dr.
it-
North area.
How urgent is it to spend money on looking at it?
It's
Yeah.
not, to be frank, it's not urgent. It would be nice to have tomorrow, and it would be great. But if you look at this scheme of things, it's probably not urgent. There is to happen a draining further around on that reserve. That's already been budgeted for from Parks and Reserves, which they ran out of money, so now it's into the new year, but it probably won't happen till it dries off more again now. And that's 40 odd grand. So, and that's only a small area. So you can imagine what Dr. North Park will be, because she was talking about a concrete area that they can run around on scooters and things.
Well, the resolution is to investigate and suggest solutions, and as part of that, they will obviously work in with works for the crossing. Yeah.
Because there also was, and which is one thing that had been in there at some stage earlier, was about a path all the way around from Marina Way through, just as a pathway where from the home they can actually take people on their wheelchairs and walk them around. And that would be part, I would think, of what you do at Dr. North Park, if that was the case. Or it could be a smaller part of what you do, staged. But yeah, it's worth putting in there. I'll be quite frank, I tried to convince her not to push too much, but it's there.
Yeah.
And it needs, otherwise, you could wind up with nothing.
Right, I might as well list them out.
Yeah.
So if there's no more comments, would you like to move that, Alan?
Move what?
Well,
Conflicted?
my involvement with what was put there it conflicts me.
So what are we saying about the barbecue cover?
So the barbecue cover part is that the Waihi Beach Community Board be invited to consider the need for and potentially fund a larger shelter instead of the previously requested barbecue cover.
Well, I'd like to suggest that the thing you've said that we actually look at the larger barbecue cover and look at the costings and look at potential options for funding that, which may be some of council and maybe some funding that they may be able to do themselves.
Yeah, community board or out of
Because we don't
sources.
know what we're talking. We don't know what the costs are.
No, but I think
It's
what
investigation.
we're saying is over to you, Community Board, and either they fund it through their reserves fund or through a submission to the end of place.
Part of what stopped it before was straight out again. The people in the neighbourhood, and a number of them, were totally opposed to it being in front of their place, blocking their view. The population has largely changed, and when I investigated this 2 years ago, it was far more acceptable. So that's just a change in people. So
So you're saying putting it over to the
but you've got-
community board that they then decide what they're going to do with it then.
How they're going to fund it and what
Yeah.
they want it.
Okay.
and you'd
Okay.
have to find out whether the locals want it as well.
Yeah, so it's considered.
Yeah, but
Well,
overall, it's what you have as a facility.
Well, why hasn't it been past this junction before? We've
You're right.
we've passed
It
it.
came to the ward forum, we put it back to the community board to fund,
And it's probably stopped in their priority list.
No, it's just that they want a bigger one now.
yeah, exactly. So
That's basically it.
they want a big one, so that they're going back to the community board and they consider whether they can pay for a bigger one.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll move that one then. If you're
Yeah.
I'll
second that one. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Conflicted?
And the last one we had was Alan Maxwell talking about Katikati-Waihi, and that's just a simple receiver presentation. There's some quite, I would just say there's some quite good connections made there, and hopefully that some of those can come to fruition. These are direct actions for us.
No, they've made big inroads into Waihi and now they're moving into Waihi Beach.
Yeah.
They see there's a need in the area. In the social space, which I have to say, Live Well Waihi Beach is currently not picking up, but Tai are coming into.
Yeah. You want to do that one, Alan?
Why not?
Because you cannot predict this one, so I'll second that one. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Okay. In which case, we're just about in the meeting. I'll just say that this is the last Katikati-Waihi Beach Ward Forum of this triennium, and it's been a pleasure to chair. And I'll see how things go next year. But, with that, I'll declare the meeting closed.
Yeah, it'll be
Thank you.
completely different.